Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Tioni and welcome back. And we're getting into another food reaction, y'all. And today we are reacting to Sunny, okay? Um, best food review show, okay? We're reacting to that. And let's get into extreme. Y'all can't really see it. Let me see if I can pull it down a little bit. There we go. Pull it down just a little bit for y'all. Extreme food, extreme Muslim food in Morocco. Okay, so we're going to lift that back up so y'all can see the video and let's get into this.
A crucial ingredient for one of the most shocking foods you will find in the country of Morocco.
Today, I'm on a mission to uncover extreme Muslim food.
It looks insane.
Foods that follow Islamic dietary laws, but are so rare and so unusual, you won't find them anywhere else in the world.
This one's very big. This cow must have been a heavy drinker, or at least used ketamine.
And by the end of
Not
this
a heavy
video,
drinker.
I'll be coming head to head
Holy cow.
with a camel head.
Always when they sacrifice,
It's the camel
the head
head.
is sold.
But first, an
Oh my
outlandish
God.
Moroccan breakfast featuring this.
Camel?
A special
What's
dry
that?
beef suspended in pure beef fat.
Okay.
The recipe, which takes days to complete, comes
That's
from
pizza?
Fez, a 1,200-year-old city
Okay,
and the
Fez,
cultural
Fez.
capital of
1200.
Morocco.
All right, folks,
Oh
right
my
here we have a
God.
whole truck
Whoa.
full of these halved cows that are coming into this factory, and now they're a crucial part of today's very unique Moroccan breakfast.
This is a 155-year-old family-run business, specializing in classic Moroccan artisanal treats and
Clay. This is an ancient, iconic food of Morocco, and it starts with thousands of pounds of beef here in this factory. Let's get started.
once the meat passes the quality check, it's moved to the butchering room. The fat is trimmed from the meat and set aside for later use.
What really makes this dish unique is the interplay between meat and fat. Right now, they are dividing up those two. This, what you see here. Boom. Take up. He does it real quick.
With our meat in hand, it's time for a little seasoning, a secret family blend that they will not tell me. What I can say is this recipe typically includes the use of cumin, coriander seeds, paprika, garlic, salt, and pepper. Once coated, the beef is sent to the rooftop for the next crucial step.
What I love about this factory is that it's impossible to not include the traditional step of drying the meat outdoors in the sun.
They are not
Up here, there are
revealing the
over
secret to
1,000
you.
pounds of beef that have been drying, and
Nope,
this
nope,
is the
nope,
final
nope.
result. Let's see what happens when we take one off. You can see the texture here. I want to see if it snaps. What's it do? Yeah,
Like
it's
a
kind
jerky.
of dry, kind of gummy. The best part is this is not the end product. There's still another crucial step, and that is bringing the fat back in to the recipe.
Remember that fat we trimmed earlier? It gets rendered down in a massive vat, creating a rich base where that dried beef is submerged.
And we have reached the final step of the kli making process. This is where the fat and the protein reunite. So the beef is going to cook for 3 hours. What's amazing is that this is obviously a very ancient traditional recipe,
3
but
hours.
somehow we're in this factory where they're recreating this product on a massive scale because the demand for it is just that high. It looks insane. It looks like big, thick pieces of rope.
After packaging and cooling, the fat encases the meat, forming a protective barrier that locks out air and moisture, effectively preserving the meat for up to 2 years. These days, you can find this food all over Morocco, creeping its way onto breakfast plates throughout the country, like at the restaurant where I'm headed to next.
Najat, this morning I went to a kli factory.
Khle factory.
Oh, I went to a kli factory.
Bravo.
Thank you. Well, it turns out that's a star ingredient in our dish right here.
Melt the clay fat in a pan over medium heat. Cut the clay meat into bite-sized pieces and add them to the pan, letting them soak up that rich beefy flavor. Add even more fat, then crack in some eggs.
I think we have 2 dozen eggs here. There's a lot of eggs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there's a minimum 6 eggs here.
Now stir gently, letting the eggs mix with the fat and meat, creating a savory omelet, absolutely dripping with grease.
That has to be amazing. We gotta just try it.
Transfer everything to a plate, don't
All
forget
this
the
from the
fat, and
animal.
toss some of that classic local bread on the side.
You take a piece of bread, it should be cut with hands. And then, look, This is a technique.
Oh.
And then you do like this. Your fingers don't even touch, you know?
Well, it touched a little bit. My thumb is doing an alley-oop. I've got some oil, I've got the egg, I've got the meat. Is the meat gonna be tough? Last time I touched it, it was like a rope.
Dining with me, celebrity chef Najat, who years ago hosted none other than Gordon Ramsay.
Okay.
I love how it tastes. The fat has gotten in there between the muscle fibers and it's created this unique texture of something that's partially chewy and partially full of fat and soft. I've lived in Vietnam long enough, a place where people love chewy food, that I've come to appreciate that texture, not just like Americans who like everything soft.
I think if you are able to eat just a quarter, you will feel very strong and you will feel happy, and you have the fat, eggs, which is very important for human beings, correct?
That's right. I'm going at it. I like it. It's really addictive.
No, it's very nice.
Better than just eggs. It's better than any single component here alone. They work together like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. All right, I want to talk about something else. When I go to Muslim countries where people are eating all halal, you generally don't find that many bizarre foods. In doing research for this country, I did find there were many foods that, even though they are halal, still I would categorize as kind of bizarre.
Yes, sir. I have a lovely camel head with the tongue and everything, with the eyes, waiting for us.
Would this be considered bizarre, especially to some younger folks here in Morocco?
Yes, sir.
Camel, while not as common as beef or lamb, remains a cherished delicacy in Morocco. It's often enjoyed in the form of a burger patty or sausage, but eating the whole head? Well, that's for those who have completely lost their minds.
Holy cow.
Not you lost your mind.
I don't know what I was expecting, but this is a big camel.
Camels are big, Sonny.
YouTube doesn't like stuff like this, but this is food.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
With respect.
And respectfully, I want to give it a little bit of a sniff. Ooh.
Smell animal.
Yeah, it still smells like a camel pasture. It's heavy, by the way. This is like a 20-pound head. How common is it to eat the head versus the meat?
Always when they sacrifice, the head is sold.
Najat, let's do it.
Let's go.
Can I get a takeaway bag or perhaps a small crate?
Najat is headed to a restaurant to whip up a mysterious meatloaf made from camel spleen. Meanwhile, I'm handling the camel head, starting its transformation into something resembling food by first singeing off its hair.
All right, folks, we have our camel head right here, and we have come to a communal oven. Right down here is the oven, and the guy who's anxiously anticipating my camel head. Here's the problem. Everybody in the neighborhood here comes to get their bread baked, but going in that same oven is this right here. How is it going to affect the taste of the bread? I'm not going to stick around to find out. Here we go. Here's the camel head. Oh, he just grabs it right by the head. And he's gonna go straight into the oven with it. And he shoves it deep inside into the flame. So far, it smells a bit, but it's not overwhelming yet. I'm told it's gonna take 30 minutes to burn all the way off, and then we go on to the next step. That is a big and unruly camel head. This is gonna be a long process.
While waiting for the fire to do its job, I'm heading deeper into the Medina in search of more bizarre bites. This place is a maze of narrow streets packed with lively markets, historic architecture, and countless food offerings. And while skewers are a popular choice, the ones this shop serves may startle you.
Guys, feast your eyes on that. That, my friends, is a cow heart. And this, I want you guys to guess what that is. This is the kidney of the cow. And look, this one's very big. This cow must have been a heavy drinker, or at least used ketamine. From here, he's gonna start slicing the organs, and that's gonna hit the charcoal, and we're gonna get a second breakfast. Take a look right here. This guy makes quick work of these frozen kidneys. It actually is a lot easier to cut a kidney when it's kind of semi-frozen like this. Thank you. Very nice guy. Great hospitality. Here's what I love about his shop. He has seating here for about 3 people, but then inside there's seating for maybe 6 more. Not a lot of people at one time. You gotta turn tables, turn them and burn them, get people fed and get them out, right?
Welcome, brother. Sí.
Thank you.
Once the heart and kidneys are chopped up, they're skewered, then grilled over hot charcoal. Chef Alarbi has 44 years of experience on the grill. In front of his shop, taking in the aroma of cooked meats. After the skewers leave the heat, he sprinkles the lot with his personal spice mix. And finally, my carnivore diet is ready to begin.
Folks, we have our second breakfast right here, and I've got Alarbi looking over me like a guardian angel. The vibe of the Medina is wild. We are in just this narrow alleyway here. Actually, if you look just across, this guy is selling bread on a short table. This woman right here, she has a couple of breads that she's selling, including these little pancakes. A pancake known as Skewered. The pronunciation's kind of tough with some of these Arabic words. We're gonna start with my favorite animal organ, and that is the heart. I don't care if it's a chicken or a cow, this is an animal organ I absolutely adore. I'm gonna use this as little bread gloves. Rip off a piece, use that to grip it and rip it. It's cooled down a little bit, but it's a nice texture and it's a very nice flavor. The two most distinct flavors are chili powder, because it's a little bit spicy, and cumin. Here's what cumin is. Get your taco seasoning, that Ortega pouch, rip it open, and that really present smell in there, that's cumin.
You know, I never realized that that was
It's a very
cumin.
solid piece
I
of
could have
meat.
been
It's
making my
fatty,
own
and
taco
there's a
season
lot of
all this
flavor.
time.
Actually, it does make sense to pair this one with a little bit of bread, just to cut down the richness a bit. I like it. Moving on to meat, our next meat right here, the kidney. And if I'm honest, kidneys are not my favorite. When I think kidneys, I think of that time I was with the Toga tribe in Tanzania, and they made me eat it raw. Grab it with some bread gloves, peel it off, and let's throw back some kidney. Yeah, it's good. A strong flavor of cumin. Usually the organs, they can be gamey, there can be a lot of minerality, but they're pretty neutral actually. I'm a big cumin fan. If you are not a fan of cumin, you will not like this, but you also won't like a lot of other Moroccan dishes, because cumin plays a heavy part in seasoning food here. Wagon guy, cartman.
Now back to the camel head. With its hair removed, I bring it to a reluctant butcher, who, for only 20 bucks, attempts to scrape off any remaining hair scraps before absolutely pulverizing the cranium into unrecognizable head chunks.
Oh my God.
In the meantime, I'm heading up the street and down an alley to try a delicacy from
It's
the
the
Sahara
waving at the
Desert
camera.
that few locals have even heard of.
We have come to our next destination. This is my guy, Adil. How you doing? Pound it. Boom. If you walk up to this cart and look at the sign, it will say steamed meats, but that only tells part of the story. The rest remains in here. In here you will see some very unique cuts of the cow. Now, you might have thought the heart or the kidney was unusual, but wait till you see what we've got in here. Starting with this. This is a pretty easily identifiable piece of meat. Look at how soft and steamed that thing is. This is a cow tongue. Glorious. But the tongue is just a warm-up. This is what I'm really excited for. That right there is the cow's udder. These are the memory glands of the cow, so that is going to be part of our next meal. Also, there's soup. Let's go.
When an order comes in, he chops meat in bite-sized pieces and puts them up. The meat gets sprinkled with cumin, salt, and chili powder for a bold cake of flavor. And to keep up with it, the organ served alongside a soup made of legumes and tomatoes, some sweet on the side, and that old familiar bread.
There's love for soup. This looks delicious. It looks thick, hearty. Okay. Warming, especially on a cool day like this in Morocco. I'm gonna work my way up to the cow udder. But first we have the cow tongue, and then right here, the cow cheek. The cheek is one of the most prized parts of. As with many of the food here, you gotta get some bread gloves, grab a big load of meat, and push it on with them.
Big piece of it and eat the food.
That is delicious and heavy. If this got steamed, it's almost becoming a paste. So soft. It's almost breaking down into nuggets. And then we have this right here. This is the tongue of the cow. Here we got bigger, broader, more distinct chunks. This really looks delicious. Interesting, you can either get the meat cut on a plate like this, or you can have them jam it into sandwich for you. But I've gone with the meat on the plate option.
Oh, excuse me.
That's delicious. Oh, the texture is awesome. And then there's just one meat remaining. Take a look at that. This is the cow udder. It's a strange, interconnected maze of tissues that create and distribute milk out the nipples. I'm gonna try to rip it in half to show you a soft and tender button. Compare that to the texture of udder that we ate in Thailand, which was kind of tough and stretchy. This is gonna be a completely different experience, so let's go for it. What? A little bit spongy, but it's been steamed so long, the tissues are really just almost falling apart. Wow. There's a crap of salt on it. It's broken down, it's soft, but the texture is like anything I had before. As you break it open, it just looks slightly bizarre. But as you eat it, it's very soft, and it's really indistinguishable. The cow cheek, for example. When it's in Thailand, it had a very aftertaste to it. Here, there's none of that. Well, it really tastes like salt and cumin, because that's what they put on here. I like it. This is something also going to be our final taste of cow, because now we're graduating up to the camel.
Graduate.
The camel head,
That's a
broken down,
graduation?
heads to its final stop, the Jack's restaurant. First, she seals her traditional steamer with flour paste to direct the heat to the top. The head goes in one terrifying piece at a time. After adding some, the Jack places the lid on top. Once fully raised, she plates the head along with salt, cumin, paprika. At last, our ultimate bizarre Moroccan dinner can begin.
Jet, you know it yourself? A moment ago, I was holding a whole head of a camel in my hand. Now, I'm blown away by what I'm seeing here. It's like a pile of bones and it's meat. What a glow. But we're not going to start with this. Instead, we're going to start with this. The spleen.
Inside, is plant.
Whether it's your spleen or that of the camel, this organ is in charge of filtering and recycling blood.
It has a nice sheen on it, like it's just been rubbed down with baby oil.
Well, maybe I will make a joke. I'm gonna keep it.
It turns out it can also be used as a sausage-like casing after being stuffed with ground camel meat,
Wow.
olives, and spices.
The next
look
move
good,
is, if you allow me,
but I don't know if I
to
would
make a
try
little
it.
sandwich for you with my hands.
Please. So you split the bread in half. Ooh, and then you attack it from an angle.
Yes, sir. I will remove the fat if you don't mind.
Will you make some for yourself
eat
too?
this-
I
Skin?
will, chef.
So yeah, y'all, the laptop had died, and what I'm using to connect the laptop to the setup is also the charger. So that'd be the end of the video. If y'all like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Show me some love.